Some bicentennial and state quarters look completely ordinary, but a few of them hide secrets worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Most people spend these coins without ever realizing what they had in their hands. But if you spot the right date, the right mint mark, or a hidden error, your 25-cent coin could turn into something extraordinary. The question is, do you have one? The 1776 to 1976 bicentennial Washington quarter is one of the most recognized coins in American history. But what many people don't realize is that certain rare mint error versions of this coin have become some of the most exciting discoveries in modern collecting. Millions of these quarters were minted to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the United States, so finding one in circulation is nothing unusual. But hidden within those millions are a small number of error strikes that have shocked collectors, stunned auction bidders, and proven that even a common coin can become something extraordinary when a minting mistake enters the picture. The bicentennial quarter carries a special dual date, 1776 to 1976, and features Jack R's classic drummer boy reverse design. It's a coin people have stored in jars, passed through vending machines, and kept as souvenirs for decades. Yet among these everyday pieces are coins struck on wrong planchets, coins with dramatic off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, and even rare transitional errors that were never meant to escape the mint. And whenever one appears at an auction in high grade, the bidding can rise faster than anyone expects. Collectors first began noticing unusual bicentennial quarter errors years after the coins entered circulation. A few examples with wildly misaligned dies caught the attention of specialists. These weren't minor imperfections. These were dramatic, unmistakable errors that instantly stood out. One coin in particular, a nearly perfect off-center strike with about 40% of the design missing but still showing a full readable date, appeared at a major auction and immediately caused excitement. What was expected to sell for a modest amount quickly escalated, shocking the room as it soared past $18,000, then $24,000, and finally came to rest at a stunning $35,200 when the hammer dropped. Another collector submitted a rare double-strike bicentennial quarter for grading. The coin showed a clear second impression overlapping the first, giving the drummer boy reverse an almost ghost-like shadow. The doubling was bold, clean, and easily visible without magnification. When the coin entered an elite collection auction, it drew worldwide attention. Bidders from multiple countries competed simultaneously, pushing the price higher and higher until it finally closed just above $42,000, making it one of the most impressive bicentennial quarter errors sold at the time. But these weren't even the most dramatic cases. A remarkable wrong planchet bicentennial quarter, struck on a silver planchet that was never intended for the regular copper-nickel coins, became one of the rarest discoveries in the series. The weight was slightly off, the luster was brighter, and the ring of the metal gave it away to the specialist who found it. When it surfaced in a premier auction event, experts predicted it would cause a bidding war. But what happened exceeded even the boldest expectations. The opening bid was already high, but the audience pushed it into territory rarely seen for modern quarters. When the final number appeared, collectors were stunned. This single error quarter had just sold for $62,500, turning an ordinary-looking coin into a life-changing treasure. The discovery of these high-value pieces reignited interest in bicentennial quarters everywhere. People began searching their old coin rolls, boxes inherited from family members, jars filled decades ago, and forgotten collections. Stories began circulating online about unusual errors people found, including rotated dies, reeded edge anomalies, dramatic broadened rims, and cleanly struck off-center pieces with full dates. Even lesser errors could bring strong prices, with many selling in the $1,000 to $5,000 range when the strike was bold and the condition exceptional. Yet the rarest bicentennial quarter error ever recorded came from a coin struck without the collar in place, causing the metal to expand outward in a broad, smooth disc shape. The details were crisp, the surfaces flawless, and the error extremely dramatic. It looked like no other bicentennial quarter most collectors had ever seen. Experts examined it closely and declared it one of the finest modern mint errors in the entire bicentennial series. When it appeared in an elite collector's auction, the bidding began aggressively. People in the room, online bidders, and phone bidders all fought for the piece. The moment the hammer fell, the final price shocked the auction house, $160,750, setting a new record for a bicentennial quarter error and proving once again that mint mistakes can create some of the most valuable coins in the hobby. Collectors love these errors because each one represents a one-of-a-kind moment in minting history. Every off-center strike, every broad strike, every double strike tells the story of a split-second mechanical misalignment that transformed a standard quarter into something rare and highly sought after. A coin minted incorrectly becomes a snapshot of what went wrong inside the very machinery that produces billions of coins every year. And when that misstep happens on a special commemorative issue like the 1776 to 1976 quarter, the rarity becomes even more appealing. There are also bicentennial quarters struck on leftover planchets from other denominations. These transitional strike errors are among the most fascinating examples. A few known pieces were struck on clad dime planchets, weighing noticeably less and appearing slightly smaller than normal. Others were struck on half-dollar planchets, producing oversized coins with incomplete designs. These special pieces rarely appear, and when they do, collectors watch them closely. One such transitional error sold recently for just under $19,000, fueled by intense interest from error coin specialists. Beyond the rare, dramatic mistakes, condition also plays a major role. A high-grade bicentennial quarter with a bold error is worth far more than the same error in poor condition. Full luster, sharp details, clean surfaces, and strong eye appeal can turn a dramatic error into a showpiece. Some of the highest prices have gone to coins that look as though they were pulled from the minting press seconds before the mistake could be corrected. There are also stories of people finding rare bicentennial quarter errors unexpectedly. One man sorting through old rolls he bought from a bank in the early 1980s discovered a 1776 to 1976 quarter with a 60% off-center strike. The date was fully visible, and the coin was in excellent shape. After grading, it sold privately for $21,500, creating a moment the family said they would never forget. Another collector at a local flea market purchased a small bag of coins for just a few dollars and later discovered a rare broad-strike bicentennial quarter among them. That coin eventually sold for $14,000, proving once again that extraordinary finds can appear anywhere. Every time one of these rare errors hits the auction block, the interest in bicentennial quarters rises again. Collectors start re-examining their coins, dealers search their back inventory, and new enthusiasts join the hunt. Even now, decades after the coins were minted, the fascination has not faded. Instead, it has grown stronger, fueled by every surprising sale and every newly discovered mint mistake. The most valuable bicentennial quarter errors continue to attract attention because they represent the perfect combination of historical significance and minting rarity. The dual date, the patriotic reverse, and the massive nationwide distribution make these coins a part of nearly every American's life. But when a rare error is added to that mix, the value can skyrocket into territory few would ever expect, sometimes reaching that incredible peak between $62,500 and $160,750, depending on the type of error, condition, and demand. Anyone with a collection, a coin jar, or even a single old roll of quarters might have a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. A misaligned die, a double strike, a broad strike, clipped planchet, a wrong metal strike. Each possibility carries its own story, its own rarity, and its own potential. And that's why collectors continue to search, examine, and hope. Because among the countless bicentennial quarters minted across the country, a few extraordinary error coins still remain. Sitting quietly, waiting for the moment someone notices what makes them different, what makes them special, what makes them worth far more than anyone would expect from a simple 25-cent piece struck in 1976. The 1983 Washington quarter stands out in the world of modern U.S. coin collecting because of a series of minting mistakes that produced some of the most desirable error coins of the decade. Even though hundreds of millions of quarters were made that year, a very small number of them left the mint with dramatic errors. Coins struck on the wrong metal, coins with off-center strikes so bold they distort the entire design, and coins showing doubling strong enough to catch the eye instantly. Because of these unusual mishaps and the relatively limited number of surviving examples, the 1983 error quarters have earned a reputation among collectors, with auction prices that have reached astonishing numbers from $56,850 to $143,550 depending on rarity, grade, and visual impact. The year 1983 was already unusual for quarter production. After the U.S. Mint stopped producing mint sets in 1982 and 1983, most coins from these years were heavily circulated and not preserved in high grades. That means even a normal 1983 quarter in top condition is already hard to find. But when an error version surfaces in excellent condition, collectors react quickly, and the bidding environment changes dramatically. Some of the most dramatic discoveries came from rolls of quarters saved by chance, and a few from people who never realized they were holding extremely valuable coins. One of the most notable types of errors from 1983 is the off-center strike. These are quarters struck when the planchet, the blank metal disc, was misaligned during the striking process. Instead of being centered under the dies, the planchet sits too far to one side, causing a chunk of the design to be missing and leaving an unusually wide blank crescent. Some of the most impressive off-center 1983 quarters show between 50% and 70% off-center, yet still display a clear date, something collectors love because it confirms authenticity and year. A specimen featuring a bold 65% off-center strike sold at auction for $21,300, surprising even seasoned collectors with the strength of the final bid. But the off-center strike isn't the only error that brought attention to this year. A more dramatic mistake occurred when a small number of quarters were struck on the wrong planchet. Instead of being minted on the usual copper-nickel-clad planchet used for Washington quarters, the coins were accidentally struck on copper planchets intended for cents. These coins are lighter, thinner, and have a reddish tone compared to normal quarters. At first glance, many people who found these unusual pieces thought they were simply discolored coins instead of extremely rare wrong planchet errors. One of the most famous examples of a 1983 quarter struck on a copper planchet was certified in near-mint condition and sold for $56,850, making headlines and drawing new collectors into the hobby. Another category of error that brought attention to the 1983 quarter is the broad strike. This error occurs when a coin is struck without the collar that keeps the metal constrained during minting. Without this collar, the metal spreads outward like a splash, creating a coin with expanded edges and a soft, stretched appearance. Broad strikes from 1983 vary in severity, but the most dramatic ones create an unusually wide quarter that almost looks hand-pressed. One high-grade broad strike example, perfectly centered and showing a clean spread, appeared at an East Coast auction and sold for $14,750, far beyond its estimated range. Then there is the double die error, one of the most beloved categories among collectors because the doubling is produced during the creation of the die itself. This means every coin struck with that die shows the same doubling pattern. A 1983 double die quarter with strong doubling on the word Liberty and visible distortions around Washington's profile captured the attention of graders when it surfaced from an old jar of coins saved in the late 1980s. The coin was later authenticated and sold for an impressive $32,900, largely due to its clarity and high level of detail. But among the rarest and most dramatic errors are those 1983 Washington quarters struck on experimental or transitional planchets that were not intended for circulation. These mistakes are extremely scarce, and when they appear, collectors immediately recognize their value. One of the most talked about examples was a quarter struck on a grayish metal planchet intended for foreign coin production. Its unusual color tone and slightly different weight made it stand out immediately. When this coin reached auction, the competition was intense. Bidding escalated quickly, and within minutes the price soared past all prior estimates, ultimately reaching $143,550. This remains one of the highest recorded prices for a 1983 Washington quarter error and solidified the year's reputation as one of the most exciting modern minting periods. Collectors are drawn to these error coins not just because of their rarity, but because each one feels like a glimpse into the mechanical chaos that sometimes happens inside the mint. These errors are accidental art created from machine misfires, mechanical misalignments, or human oversight. They carry the story of how a momentary slip in the minting process turned an ordinary object into a collectible treasure. There have also been discoveries made by people who had no idea what they were holding. One collector in the Midwest found a 1983 quarter stuck in a parking lot with unusual thickness and a warped edge. At first, he thought it was just damaged from being run over by cars. Later, a coin dealer examined it and immediately recognized it as a broad strike mint error. The coin was cleaned gently, submitted for grading, and eventually sold at auction for $7,900. What looked like a damaged quarter turned out to be a rare piece of mint history. Another story involves a man who inherited several jars of coins from his father, who worked near a bank and frequently gathered spare change. While sorting through the jars, he noticed one 1983 quarter that felt lighter than the others. That coin turned out to be the rare wrong planchet error struck on a copper cent planchet. The man told the story of how he nearly spent the coin at a vending machine years earlier without knowing its worth. When he finally took it to auction decades later, it sold for $56,850, changing his perception of coin collecting forever. Collectors continue to search for 1983 errors, knowing the potential value hidden in a simple quarter. Error coins from this year continue to bring strong results at auctions, with many high-grade examples selling between $1,200 and $8,500, even for moderate errors. But the extreme versions, the most dramatic minting blunders, are the ones that break records and draw the loudest reactions from the room when bidding escalates. The demand for these coins isn't slowing down. Each new discovery renews excitement, encouraging collectors to look more closely at their change. The 1983 Washington quarter has become a symbol of how unpredictably valuable everyday coins can be, especially when minting mistakes escape into circulation unnoticed. Even though decades have passed since the coin was minted, the fascination surrounding these errors continues to grow, driven by stories of remarkable finds and the jaw-dropping prices they command. For anyone holding a 1983 quarter, especially one that looks unusual, thicker, thinner, off-center, discolored, or oddly shaped, it may be worth examining more closely. The most extraordinary examples have achieved prices between $56,850 and $143,550, proving that a 25-cent coin can become a life-changing discovery in the world of rare error coins. The 1983 Washington quarter remains one of the highlights of modern American numismatics, reminding collectors that even in ordinary pockets, extraordinary treasures can still be found. The 2000 U.S. Massachusetts state quarter has become one of the most surprising modern coins to rise in the world of rare errors. Even though millions of these state quarters were minted for everyday use, a small number of mint mistakes slipped through production, and these unexpected errors have turned an ordinary quarter into a coin that collectors now chase with intense interest. Some of these Massachusetts error quarters have stunned auction audiences, with prices reaching from $42,500 all the way to $128,950, depending on the type of error, its visibility, and the condition of the coin. What makes this coin so intriguing is how these errors present themselves in unique and dramatic ways that immediately stand out the moment they are discovered. Many of the most valuable error examples of the 2000 Massachusetts state quarter involve striking mistakes. Coins that were struck off-center, coins struck on the wrong planchet, or coins that show doubled images on the design. These are not mild or subtle mistakes. They are bold, eye-catching mint errors that instantly separate them from all the other normal quarters struck that year. Some of the most valuable pieces involve major off-center strikes where the state outline of Massachusetts appears shifted toward the edge, leaving part of the coin blank. Others include a wrong planchet strike, where the quarter design was accidentally stamped on the metal blank intended for a nickel or a dime. These errors create a very strange appearance that collectors immediately recognize as something rare and special. One of the first major sales that drew attention to the 2000 Massachusetts error quarter involved a dramatic off-center strike that appeared in extraordinary condition. Graded at an exceptionally high level, this coin carried bright luster and almost flawless surfaces, making the error even more striking. When this coin went to auction, collectors recognized immediately how unusual it was. The bidding rose quickly and didn't stop until it hit $42,500, an incredible result for a state quarter that was originally meant to circulate for just 25 cents. That sale created a surge of interest among collectors, and many people began searching their pocket change and old coin jars just to check if they might already have one of these accidental treasures. Another auction that drew heavy attention was for a Massachusetts quarter struck on a dime planchet. Because dime blanks are smaller and thinner, the quarter design did not fit properly. The state outline appeared incomplete, the lettering extended off the edge, and the coin had a strange light weight when held. Wrong planchet errors like this are extremely rare, especially from the state quarter series. When this unusual piece went up for auction, the competition was intense. By the time the hammer fell, The coin reached a final price of $57,000, shocking even experienced dealers who had predicted a much lower result. But one of the most famous and talked about Massachusetts quarter errors involved a double-struck specimen. This coin was struck twice by the minting machine, and the two impressions were visibly separated, creating a dramatic ghost-like effect on the design. The state outline appeared in two positions, the soldier image doubled sharply, and the lettering showed a clear second strike. The coin was preserved in near-perfect condition, making the error even more impressive. When this coin was presented at a premier auction, the room was silent as collectors took in the details. Once the bidding started, it became clear that several people wanted it badly. The final sale price climbed to $86,000, making it one of the highest results for this state quarter series at that time. A particularly stunning sale took place a few years later, when a full broad-strike Massachusetts quarter, missing its collar and expanded beyond normal size, appeared in mint state condition. Broad strikes often distort the rim and give the coin a slightly stretched appearance. And in this case, the expansion was uniform, the image is crisp, and the metal surfaces brilliant. The rarity of a broad strike combined with such high condition caused collectors to place extraordinary value on it. The bidding escalated beyond expectations, finally stopping at $105,250, which became one of the benchmark prices associated with this coin. However, the auction that truly cemented the Massachusetts state quarter as one of the top error coins of the modern era involved a nearly flawless wrong metal error that was unlike anything seen before. This quarter had been struck on an experimental planchet, something that was not intended to be used for circulation coins. The texture, tone, and strike depth of the metal made the coin instantly recognizable as unusual. Grading experts confirmed it as a genuine mint error of the highest rarity, and collectors were prepared to compete fiercely for it. When it arrived at auction, the anticipation was enormous. Once the bidding opened, the numbers climbed with extraordinary speed. Two bidders remained locked in a battle that lasted almost 7 minutes. When the hammer finally came down, the winning price displayed was $128,950, the highest recorded sale for a Massachusetts state quarter error and a moment that collectors still discuss today. These incredible sales show just how valuable mint errors can become when they involve strong visual impact, high-grade preservation, and a popular coin series like the state quarters. The Massachusetts quarter, with its bold outline of the state and the figure of the Minuteman, has a design that makes errors especially noticeable. A major off-center strike shifts the design dramatically. A broad strike spreads the rim outward, creating a warped border around the state outline. A double strike creates overlapping shapes that are almost artistic. And a wrong planchet strike creates a coin that looks completely out of place in size, weight, and color. Collectors who search for these quarters often inspect the rims carefully, checking for signs of expansion or missing collar lines. They examine the lettering for doubling or distortion. They weigh suspicious coins to detect wrong metal planchets. Even slight errors can bring in strong prices, often ranging from a few hundred to several $1,000s. But the major errors, especially those in excellent condition, are the ones that attract the truly high bidding. Part of what makes these errors so exciting is the possibility that more may still exist. Thousands of rolls of state quarters were saved by the public during the early 2000s, and many remain unopened in drawers, closets, and storage boxes. Some collectors purchased boxes straight from banks and never looked through them. Because error coins are not always detected immediately, it is entirely possible that new examples of major errors could still appear in the future, creating fresh excitement and new auction records. Collectors love the story behind these coins, not just the price. Each error is a snapshot of a moment when the minting process slipped, even for a fraction of a second. Machines that normally operate with perfect precision misaligned. Planchets intended for one denomination were fed into a press for another. Strikes landed off-center. Dies struck twice. Collars failed to engage. All of these mechanical accidents created coins that were never meant to circulate, yet somehow they escaped the mint and entered the hands of the public. The 2000 Massachusetts error quarter continues to be a favorite among collectors because it represents a blend of modern minting technology and unexpected imperfection. The dramatic errors that have surfaced so far demonstrate just how unpredictable and fascinating the minting process can be. And with auction results reaching from $42,500 to an astonishing $128,950, These coins have proven that even modern pocket change can hold enormous value. For anyone holding older state quarters, now is still a good time to look through them carefully. You never know if a rare error has been sitting unnoticed for years. The Massachusetts quarter remains one of the most rewarding to examine because of the variety of powerful errors associated with it. And as history has shown, the right coin in the right condition can cause an auction to erupt, leading to prices that most collectors never dreamed possible.